Good day, I'm Karen Wilson, and this is Table Talk. My guest today is CK Casey Taylor, Dan Sellers, and Sarah Cantrell from Pure Wealth Financial Partners to discuss some new concepts for saving. Welcome to the show, guys.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
First time on here. So happy to have all three of you. I feel like we've got brain power on today because I'm not good with financial stuff, and I appreciate people that are, and especially people that are so good they make a living at it. So with it being kind of a new year, everybody's kind of got these resolutions about saving and all kinds of different things, but that's on people's minds right now. So let's just start with some traditional ways that we can save money if we're planning on trying to do that this year.
The big one that we run into is kind of making sure you're getting the steps in the right order. And the first step to really get into this, to start the process, is to take an inventory of your spending. It's a temperature check, I guess.
Yeah.
It's one of those things that if you don't know where you are, it's very hard to determine what you're trying to get to or any of that. But really taking an inventory of your spending, taking a look at the bank statements, like the credit card statements, see where money's going, where the flows are, helps a lot. It's one of those things you can get on Excel, or you can get a lot of different places and get a budget worksheet. And it's a good starting point to at least see. I think it's kind of surprising as you get in there where the money goes each month. I'm always bad. I forget how much I spend on eating out. It doesn't seem like that much at the time, but
Yeah, I get that. Me too.
catches you. Yeah.
In fact, the first time I did a budget, it was kind of like the ugly truth. I don't know. It is very scary when you start putting down everything and you think about your spending habits. It's I don't know. It's very enlightening, I'll say.
It sneaks up on you. That's the right way to look at
yes.
it. It's after you start, the kind of next step of it is you're determining where you want to be. So none of us are where we are kind of trying to go yet.
Mm-hmm.
So if you can find out where you are right now, and you can get a good idea of where you're trying to get to, what you would like to save money for, whether it be to purchase a home or to retire early or anything like that, you can get that A and that B, then you've really set yourself in a good spot to start kind of working towards it. Mm-hmm. It helps you get your goal. It helps you know where you are. And map building, I always say, as we talk to people, I say AAA a lot. But we had some kids in that we were kind of getting started and said AAA, and no one knows what that is anymore. So
True, yes.
Or Google Maps or
Uh-huh.
whatever it is that people kind of get around on is really the good basis to start this process of saving and that
Okay,
sort of
so
thing.
say we do our evaluation of our spending and we get all that in a nice Excel spreadsheet or however you want to do it. What are, I guess, some other ways that we can, we've determined where we are, what's next?
So as you declutter, go through your expenses, and you find out where those extras are, whether it's a subscription here or something that's reoccurring that you didn't realize you didn't cancel, you can look at different ways to start saving and then pay yourself first. Use those things that you're saving on to put towards your future goals. So what we've talked about a little bit is just with COVID, I think shutting some things down, it's given people an opportunity to save in other ways. And so we're looking at kind of no-buy, low-buy years. And so basically that's where you basically set parameters for yourself. And in a no-buy year, you're only going to replace the things you run out of. You limit the things that you need, food, transportation, basically just your necessities. And so that's one way you can start saving, is just to really set some restrictions on your spending. And then other ways are the low-buy year, where you allow yourself to have some flexible spending, some discretionary spending, but you basically set those goals at the beginning of the year, and you say, I'm going to buy one pair of jeans or take one trip or eat out this many times, and then you really just limit going from there.
So I guess you could do that as a family, or just one person in the family personally, like if you're the main one that you see, okay, I do more shopping than what I need to do, or I'm spending more on groceries and we're throwing a lot away at the end of the week or at the end of a few weeks and stuff. So it's like kind of you said, maybe you set your own goals and you're as strict as really what you want to be.
That's exactly right. It's hard to just have a one set kind of set cookie cutter. Everybody can spend $2,000 a month and they'll cover everything and it's fine. Everyone's kind of got their different goals. Like CK was saying, if we're doing the no buy year, we're not buying anything that's not like a replacement. But that low buy is like, okay, we're going to eat out. I eat out too much. I'm going to eat out once a month, or I'm going to eat out every other week, or whatever. But it's different for different people. It's very hard to say. You know, Sarah's only going to eat out once a year. It's got to be kind of worked out to each individual preference there.
Yeah, and I guess it's what your family can live with too. If I were to crank down and say, okay, everybody would go into chaos if I said we weren't going to eat out any. You know, that's something you look forward to. You treat your family to. And I guess it's one of those things you have to know what your family can tolerate.
Yeah. I think sometimes if you start too strict, it's really hard to stick with the plan. So like I'm the queen of buying groceries and then 2 weeks later, or I guess produce, and then 2 weeks later throwing that produce away. And so it's just taking an inventory of what you're actually using and what you're not, and then limiting, yourself and just setting a realistic plan, because it's really hard to stick to something if it's too strict.
Yeah, that's a good point. We want something that we can live with, especially if you're trying to do an entire year.
Yeah.
It's a marathon, not a sprint.
It is. And as you step into February and March, you don't want to give out by March. You're going to want to meet your goals or be seeing some progress as you go out the year. So as you mentioned, setting goals and setting the rules up as everybody rules is kind of custom for themselves. Our society is we've got a problem with stuff. Let's just put it on the table. We love our things. I don't know if I think that's kind of a modern day problem. But we all, have problems with getting more than what we need. And that can create some financial difficulty in the family. And it's also tough on our environment. So let's talk about that a little bit, about, what we can do to curtail that.
I think it's kind of a Band-Aid problem, so it's just ripping the Band-Aid off. And so we all have the things that we like to spend money on that make us feel better or feel good. And we have this societal fear, like you said, that if we ever had to not purchase those things anymore, that it would hurt us. But I have come to learn myself that if I just tell myself, you don't really need it, and like you just kind of stick with it, you begin actually believing I don't really need that, and you can change those habits. So whether it's like I've never been a big shoe person, I've never been a big clothing person, but just little things. It's like the dollar aisle at the grocery store. Like as you're waiting, it's there strategically.
Yes,
Like, my son would love this, and my daughter would love this, and it's just like, no, we don't need that. We don't need it. And the more you're like, I don't really need it, and then you start taking an inventory of like, okay, what is a necessity, and that goes back into the no buy year. These are the things I do need, and I'll be just fine if I don't have the things that I don't need and I want. And then you can kind of put yourself back in the graces of a low buy. Like, okay, the things that did kind of hurt me to be without, those are the things that I want, that make me feel better to have. I want to work hard so I can reward myself with those things. That's where you can see those reoccur in the low buy, as you kind of start getting out of that grace period. You come up, okay, I do love these things, so I'm going to set these standards where I can have them every so often. So I think that helps lessen I want all these things, because everybody has all these things. And, I don't want anybody to think that I don't have these things. But you can look at yourself like, do I really need them? No. And is it going to hurt if I don't have them? No, it's not.
Now, I think this would be kind of especially tough with small children.
Yeah.
Because they're the ones at the checkout aisle usually, Mommy or Daddy, or I want this,
They have
I
the
want
colorful
that.
stuff
They
lined up right
do,
there.
at eye level for them as well. So I guess, especially the younger they are, the less they understand that, but maybe teaching them some strategies different, or maybe it's something, instead of a big toy, it's a pack of crayons or a coloring book or something smaller than what they normally would would get. Or,
Yeah.
you know, my classic was, it won't be long till Santa comes.
Yeah.
So you just keep putting them off, hoping that December, you know, is here and they get all their things at Christmas maybe.
Start about 4th of July and start kinda
Yes,
working
yes,
into
it won't be long till Santa gets here. You know, and I guess mindful spending, is that what we need to practice?
It's a declutter that kind of helps start that mindfulness. It's like going through your closet and looking at all the clothes that you haven't worn. And it's time to donate. You do the same thing with your spending. Realistically, I do it. I got through when we actually started kind of looking into the low buy, no buy years. I started looking through subscriptions, and it is amazing. I've been paying for Netflix that I haven't watched in 6 months. It's surprising. The declutter was an immediate thing to kind of grasp before even digging into what I can cut, was digging in what's unnecessary there.
Yeah, so I guess as you kind of look at, let's touch on that a little bit. You know, we're always getting these special deals, offers, emails. How can we declutter some of those things?
I think if you stay focused on the things that you need, so if there's something that you need or you want, and you can get a deal on that, that's excellent because you are saving money. But as we were kind of looking at this, my dad's words were echoing from childhood in my head, where I would bring home something or spend recklessly on something, and he would be like, "What are you thinking? Like, why did you?" And I'd be like, "But it was on sale." He's like, "You still spent $20 that you did not need to spend. I don't care if you saved $5." And so it was like, okay. And so now it's okay to purchase something on sale, or if you've been waiting. I'm real bad about waiting, seeing something I want, but it's at regular price. So I'll watch it and I'll watch it and I'll watch it and I'll watch it. And then when it goes on sale, I'll grab it. And that can be something very particular, something that I need. But I think getting caught in like the algorithms of, you may have looked at something or something may have come across your screen like, oh, that's kind of interesting. And then all of a sudden it's showing up all the time. And it like makes you think that you need it and you may not need it. And then you spend the money on it. And I have major buyer's remorse with stuff like that. So if I buy something that's not necessary, I'll be like, why did I do that? And I go through this immense guilt. So if I see something that's interesting, I'm like, oh, that's interesting, but I'll just move, because if I stop or click, then it's just it's like the law of attraction. It's just gonna be there all the time, because that's how algorithms are set up.
That's kind of a good point that a lot of people run into. Where marketing is now in a lot of ways, and a lot of things that you see online or on your phone or whatever, it's become, predatory is the wrong word, I think, but
It's
Strategic.
close.
yeah, they are really good at showing you things. Every time I get onto Amazon, it's showing me 10 things that I want already,
Yeah.
but it knows what I've looked at, where I've been, what I've talked about almost at this point.
Yeah.
It feels like, but it's one of those things that it's very hard. It is hard to turn it off. It's hard to keep away from this is 10-15% off from last time you looked at it or whatever. I'm getting better at lists. I think what's worked well for me with Amazon at least is you can add like a list, and I'll put things and add it to a list and then sit on it, and if I look at it all the
Yeah.
time, sure. But if it's something I'm never going to look at again,
True,
I've at least
yeah.
escaped myself out of the current situation.
It's almost like you feel like you've bought it, but you never really did.
Yeah, it's
you
never
know?
going to show up. That's exactly it.
What about like unsubscribing from emails and things of that nature?
Yeah, so a lot of that is just going in and blocking those or unsubscribing from those, just so you don't see it all the time. I think now it's so easy for us to see what everyone else has, and it makes us think that we need it, or everything is it's within a fingertip reach. Like, you can swipe and buy now, and there's all these ways that you can just instantly have whatever you think you need, and it's kind of in the moment you may think so, but in the long term you really don't. So I think it's really just taking out the things that you don't need and eliminating those emails from coming through, so you don't have to see it and it's not in your face all the time.
Okay.
Yeah.
I know, like, of course, I usually keep them blocked. I hate to say that I block certain channels, but
Yeah.
some people have an issue with like the shopping networks
Yep.
and things of that nature. If I'm up at 3 a.m, I really need that cookware set. I don't know what it is, but maybe blocking those channels, would that be an idea?
Yes, and I think too, like when you make a purchase, it always asks, do you want to add your email for updates and text and things like that, and that's just another way that you're getting into that system, and it's every day you're getting something for 15% off here or 25% there, and you feel like you're getting all these deals on things that you really don't need. And so it's like you build a closet full of all these things that you saved like Sarah said, you saved $20 on, but you spent $20. So at the end of the day, you're still not winning.
Right, because
Yeah.
the checkbook balance still goes down,
Yeah.
because of these purchases.
Yeah, and speaking of that, it's very easy to spend on credit cards too because it doesn't have the immediate impact on your account going down. And so it's very easy to put in a credit card and use that on your phone to make purchases, and you don't, I guess, get the immediate gut check of it declining from your account. So
Yeah.
if you use your debit card more than your credit card, sometimes that will eliminate you from spending it as well, just because you have to see that balance go down immediately instead of waiting for it to show at the end of the month.
Yeah, and I found that keeping a daily look at my
Yeah.
balance on my checking account
Yes.
is much more, there may be a little pot of money in there, and if I wait a week, I think, well, where did all that go? Well, it went to McDonald's and Crystal's and all the different little
Yep.
eating out
Yeah.
places that you mentioned. So, watching it every day.
Yeah, I used to keep a food journal, and so I kind of compare the expense to the food journal. If you have to write down that you ate the chocolate chip cookie, you're probably not going to eat it, because putting pen to paper makes you realize I don't need this. And so it's the same way with spending. If you start putting pen to paper of I just spent $13 on a Big Mac meal at McDonald's, maybe I don't need that. And so it's just more in your face with the spending.
It's exactly that. I think the kind of the previous generations, everybody having to write a check for something and then put in your checkbook
Yeah.
how much you wrote that check for. Mama balancing that checkbook, I think probably kept spending real low. If I have to do it and then write it down and stare at how much I spent at something, it's gonna feel different. But CK hit right on the head with the credit cards. You don't feel that at all. It doesn't feel like your money. It doesn't feel like it's directly hitting you. You'll do it later, but you've delayed the pain of actually spending that money till whenever you get paid next and put money towards it. A lot of the individuals that do the no buy low buy, that kind of we looked into, said cash and debit card only. That's the only things that they spent on, and they avoided credit cards. And it's kind of a proven, it's your pain. CK said it 100%. You feel the ouch of it coming directly out of your bank account. Where if it's future you problems, it's
Well,
easier
and
to
then,
ignore.
you get the credit card bill and you're overwhelmed because I spent $600 in a month or something that's hard to come up with. So,
And then the ability to only pay a portion of that makes it easier for the repeat pattern.
Yeah.
well, we're going to save all this money this year. So let's talk about some of the things that you all are experts in, or just that you do with all this money that you've saved.
So a lot of kind of the next side of this thing is it goes back to the very beginning of this, of where you are and where you're trying to get to. A lot of the savings, when they're focused, you save better. But if someone's trying to retire, we sit down, kind of plan their retirement. It's the same, trying to figure out where they are, trying to figure out their picture and save towards it. Some people are saving for big purchases, home down payments. If the car's starting to make some funny sounds, and I drive a bunch of old vehicles, so I understand the worries with that. Saving towards goals depends on kind of what investments, what tool to take. So they get tired of me saying it all the time, but what we try and do is find the right kind of vehicles for people. So if we're on Chancery Street right now, if we're trying to go to Walgreens, we'll just walk. It's more effort to go get in a car and go through a bunch of stuff. If we need to go downtown, we'll hop in a car and drive uptown. If I want to go to Los Angeles, though, I want to fly. I am not going to walk that far, and I don't have 2 weeks to take off to drive that far. So we want to make sure that we're not trying to walk across the country any more than we're trying to get a plane to fly across the street here. And a lot of that kind of works with us, and the investment side of things as well, is making sure they're using the right vehicle for the job they're trying to do. If people want to buy a house in a couple of years, we sit down and work with them to plan a strategy to save towards buying a house in a couple of years. If someone's 25 and wants to retire in 40 years, it's more of a plain situation to kind of use the analogy, but it's a little more long term, and we work with them to determine the right tools to get there as well.
So you
It's-
kind of evaluate, I guess, how
Yes.
soon they need to meet
Yeah.
their goal, and then help them develop their strategy and place their money to help them meet that goal.
It always goes back to the why. Why are we saving? If we don't have a purpose that we can commit to, we're less likely to actually stick with the plan. So if we know why we're doing it and why we're sacrificing now, then it's easier to build that map to get you where you want to be. I mean, it could be a trip. It could be as simple as a trip or a vehicle or, or as big as in retirement, I want to do these things and I want to start saving for it now.
We've talked to people that they want to go to Italy. We talk to people that want to travel the world in retirement, or they want to do specific things, and having those goals I think is really helpful savings wise, because everybody could use a couple $100 extra every month that they aren't saving for future them that they spend on another meal out or something like that, where having the why, like CK said, really helps people focus. And the lack of focus it's dieting for no reason. It's hard for a lot of people to do, but if it's, hey, I want to do this specific thing, I can absolutely put my focus towards that and make that happen in a lot of ways. It is the why. It all comes down to the why and having a good why. We've talked to people, which has been interesting, who don't necessarily, they aren't saving to retire and do nothing. They're saving because their dream job is something that doesn't pay any money or pay very much money.
Right.
So they want to save money to be able to take a lower paying job to do something they really like doing. And that's kind of been a newer thing, but it's true. Some people they'll work hard for a few years, so in the latter part, they can take a lower paying job
Do
of
their
something
fun career, I guess.
they can enjoy the fun career.
Yeah, or give back as far as volunteering and things like that go. It's going to be graduation time soon for a lot of people.
Yeah.
Thinking about that 18-year-old person, I mean, as someone who's 50 now, I wish my 18-year-old self had have opened up that 401k if they were around then. Is it ever too soon for someone like that to start? And even, investing in the market.
Yeah, invest early, invest often. The impact of time makes such a difference. It's so much easier to start early than to wait, because you can do so much less in the beginning that will make it a larger impact over time than, waiting 10, 15 years and then trying to do more and catch up. And so we don't believe in starting early, just early and often.
Yeah.
So if like your job doesn't offer a 401k or something like that, they can, someone could open one up individually with a company like Pure Wealth, and then basically it just can come out of your paycheck already, or you don't have to purposefully take money to the bank and put it in a savings account.
That's a valid point. I do this for a living, and it has to come out of I take it out of my check before I get it. Then there's not anything wrong with it. It's an out of sight, out of mind thing.
Human nature.
It's human nature. That's exactly it. There's a lot of things out there. It's individual retirement accounts, and there's set up kinds of accounts for anybody to be able to save towards retirement. There's different ways to do it, kind of depending on their, again, individual vehicle that they need for it. But there's some tax-free options. There's some options to give you tax write-offs now. There's a lot of different things out there for them. But CK said starting early makes a huge difference. You said your 18-year-old. We've run into kids as young as 15 getting started saving towards retirement. Those kids are going to retire early. Not to spoil the secret or anything, but they're going to have a great time. The earlier people can start, the absolute best. More that it helps them kind of get there. It's really amazing the different options out there. I think what gets worrisome and what we run into with people is if you start Googling or start kind of looking it up, the same algorithm that makes me want to buy car parts all the time is the same algorithm that will start catching you in these things. And it is important to talk to a professional with this. There's a lot of pitfalls to be had out there, and making sure that you kind of talk to someone that can help you with these things and help get a plan in place. Make your
Yeah, I
map.
think that would be a lot of, if you just went at it like from a Google search, that could be a little dangerous.
Yeah.
You guys are, you all basically all are from here, been here a long time anyway, and see you guys out in the community and stuff, so you're going to do good by the people that invest with you all. Also, college planning, do you all offer services like that?
We absolutely do. College planning's a big one. It's been really interesting as time goes on. we went to MTSU, and I was looking as we were starting college planning that what was it, tripled last time we looked?
Yeah.
It's
Tuition
amazing
is tripled.
how much college has gone up, and planning for it is the most important thing in the world. It's something that's really nice to be able to help your kids do. I've watched it firsthand, or we've all experienced it firsthand, how great it has been kind of in our careers to get that college base. But in a lot of ways, today, if college isn't for everybody, saving for apprenticeships or saving for
Yeah.
Vermont Level or Tennessee Tech is huge. It is very hard in today's world to be 18, 19 years old and have to work and put yourself through it. Being able to kind of hand off to your kids some help with that is
Yeah,
is
because
huge.
even if you're going to a tech school or a hairdressing school, anything
Right.
like
Yeah.
that, it's all still expensive,
It
you know, and
is.
takes some money.
And even some of the fun companies that do the college plans, they have separate websites for the students and their family where they can go on and do scholarship searches and things like that. So they build in more planning with that as you get those started. So there's additional tools to help along the way.
As someone with a recent college graduate, I do recommend going in on the front end, understanding about all of the loans and things like that. There is so many ways to get money, and sometimes they're good and sometimes they're not so good.
Yeah.
So there's a lot to be learned. Better to learn on the front end.
That's right.
Yeah.
You know what you're kind of getting into at that point in time. I'm trying to think of it. You hit the nail on the head. There are a lot of sites out there that really help you look for scholarships and grants and different things. My last year of college, I found a grant that was $1,000 a semester that could have had the entire time. I just didn't know, and so really looking into it ahead of time can help save so much money.
Yeah. Well, is there anything we haven't touched on that you all provide that we need to bring up, I guess, as a way to, for people to think about their future?
It's determining your why. It really is, at the end of the day, a lot of what we tell everyone from a 15-year-old to a 55-year-old to an 85-year-old is determining what you're saving for, what your goals are. And if you can get a picture of your goals, you can absolutely achieve them. If people don't think about it, it's a lot of people want to just not focus on things if they're worried about them. And unfortunately, the time's going to keep going. Retirement's going to keep getting closer. Whatever your kind of goals are, going to keep sneaking up on you, whether you look at it or not. But
Well,
having an idea helps.
Yeah, I was thinking about going back to the low buy, no buy year. All of these things that you're accumulating are probably going to end up like in the yard sale or
Yes.
Goodwill. And
Yes.
then boom, you're, 55, 60 and that stuff was gone a long time ago.
Yeah.
Boy, that money would come in handy though at this
Yeah.
point. So you kind of got to evaluate that, I guess, when you're in those aisles at TJ Maxx and all those fun places where you go through. I call it the gauntlet
Yes.
because it's the temptation gauntlet.
It is.
Yeah.
And even our local stores over here have them now, so they
Yeah.
learn from those places. But we got to go through that. Well, thank you all so much. It's
Thank
been
you. Absolutely.
a lot of great information. We'll have you guys back and advise us on other things as it comes along, because I know there's plenty of things to be thinking about as people have children, grandchildren. You want to save for them and make plans. So there's never too much planning.
That's right.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, thank you so much. And thank you to our viewers for watching again this week. We hope you have a safe, healthy, and happy week. And we invite you to come back again for more Table Talk.